Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Citra Dea Shafira. I'm from class G, and here I would like to present about communicative language teaching. Introduction. Communicative language teaching, or CLT, has been accepted as an effective approach by many language educators due to the major focus on developing learner ability to use the language appropriately in context. Among all methods used and practiced so far, CLT has been considered as the best practice in English language teaching, or CLT, because it offers communication means enabling learners to develop their communicative ability. Purposes of giving learners communicative activities. 1. The first purpose is to give them whole task practice, where learners can practice all the skills they learn in one communicative activity. The second purpose is to improve their motivation. This motivation is usually related to learners' purpose in learning English, and most of them learn English in order to communicate English. So it is hoped that the communicative activity they are engaged would motivate them to use the language. The third purpose is exposing them to natural learning. Unquestionably, communication is the natural process of language teaching. Thus, the communicative activity, whether inside or outside the classroom, is an essential part of learning process. The last purpose is helping learners to create a context that supports learning. Communicative activity will help to enhance the relationship among learners and between learners and teachers. Next is technique and activities used in the CLT classroom. According to Richards, in 2006, has also suggested some activities that can be applied in a CLT classroom. The activities include the following. 1. Information gap activities. This refers to activities where the students use, seek or find missing vocabulary, grammar, and/or communication to complete a task. 2. Jigsaw activities. In these activities, the class is divided into groups, and each group or person has part of information needed to complete an activity. When doing so, they must use their own words to communicate meaningfully and to take part in meaningful communication practice. 3 is picture series. These are activities where a student or a group of students tell a story based on sequential series of pictures. The pictures may need to be sorted into order first. 4 is storytelling, which is the art of sharing aloud mythology, legends, fables, folk, or fairy tales, and original stories orally. 5 is information transfer activities. These activities where the students are required to text information that is presented in one form and present it in a different form. 6 is debates and group discussion. These activities involving deriving new information from given information through the process of inference, practical reasoning, and etc. And this activity The students can give their opinion to others and compare their or others' value, opinion, or belief. 7 is role play or mini dramas. Activities in which students are assigned roles and improve a scene based on given information or clues. Next is principle underlying the communicative language approach. The communicative language teaching approach, or CLT, is used as an organizing principle. And next, learning by doing. Next is input needs to be rich. And next, input needs to be meaningful, comprehensible, and elaborated. And next is promote cooperative and collaborative learning. Next is focus on form. And then next, provide corrective error feedback. And then the last, recognize and respect effective features of learning. Use tasks as an organizing principle. It is believed that the best way to learn a language is through tasks, as it is said that practice makes perfect. Tasks refer to a piece of work undertaken for oneself or for others, freely or for some reward. Examples of tasks include filling out a form, buying a pair of shoes, making an airline reservation, and borrowing or reading a library book. Next is learning by doing. According to Risi in 1999, learning by doing means learning from experience which results directly from one's own action. It is concentrated with learning from watching performance by others and listening to instruction or description or lectures by others. These kinds of activity are not referred to as learning by doing because they do not result in direct experience, like when the learner actually demonstrates something or describes something or performs some action. Next is input needs to be rich. According to Daly and Long in 2003, have stated that rich input involves realistic samples of communication use surrounding native speaker and non-native speakers, accomplishing target tasks. It is essential in teaching a foreign language that the student become familiar with the language. They must get to hear the language either from their teacher, from multimedia resources such as DVDs, videos and/or audio tape and/or TV, or radio or internet online news and shows. Another way to create rich input is the language classroom by using the target language as the means of instruction. Next is input needs to be meaningful, comprehensible, and elaborative. A fundamental requirement for learning to occur, that is, the information learner process must be meaningful. This means that the information being presented must be clearly relevant to existing knowledge that they already possess. Furthermore, comprehensible means that the students are able to understand the essence of what is being said or presented to them. Other than that, elaborated input refers to new information which is unfamiliar, should be paraphrased and simplified explicitly to make it easy to understand. Next is promote cooperative and collaborative learning. In general, cooperative and collaborative learning has long been recognized as a strong facilitator of learning. In these activities, classrooms are organized as effectively as possible so that students can work together in small cooperative teams, such as group or pairs, to complete activity. For example, in using role-play technique, students are encouraged to collaboratively do some action in groups as assigned to each of the members of the group. Next is focus on form. Focus on form is an approach to language education in which the learners are made aware of the grammatical form of language feature that they are already able to use communicatively and emphasizes a form meaning connection. This is to avoid the traditional approach to teaching grammar, where students spend much of their time working with isolated linguistic structures from a sequence of textbooks materials. Next is provide corrective error feedback. Feedback refers to strengthening the students with the process of sharing and receiving their ideas. As a learner for this language, feedback can be useful in facilitating the progression of their skill. And giving feedback, the teachers need to consider both content and form. In this respect, content refers to comment and organization, idea and detail, while form involves comment and error in grammar and mechanics. Next is recognize and respect affective factors of learning. Affective factors are emotional factors which influence learning. Affective factors are very important factors in language acquisition and English teaching. These factors include emotion, feelings, mood, manner, attitude, and so on. All these factors, especially motivation, self-confidence, and anxiety, determine the input and the output of language. I think that's all enough the explanation from me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.